the City Cooperative Bank Limited. See, we as a business group, Dhanvarsha Group is eventually a lot of industries, a lot of businesses across many countries. We're basically majorly into e-commerce. We're into the jewelry business, the e-commerce business. Coming to the e-commerce, that's always been our backbone. So we're majority of our businesses have grown in the e-commerce space in the international markets. So I'd like to praise you that along with that, we do a lot of jewelry exports from India, a lot of diamond exports from India. Along with that, also with our presence in Canada, in the UK, in Australia, the US, and partially in Europe, okay? I would like to also praise you. We're also into private equity, investments. We're also into venture capital. We're also into, investments into various, sectors that we specifically focus on, like e-commerce, banking, finance, and fintech companies. We're also in the business of the payment gateway aggregation, which is the merchant account aggregation in several companies. We're ISOs of several banks in many countries. So we have our own mobile POS machines, our own payment gateways and all of that, which we'd like to bring it to India with a robust risk management technology that we'd like to bring it here. For that, we had to tie up with a bank, which was necessary, and we worked in the corporate sector, with the movement, eventually to make sure that this dream that we see today, this is something which we started seeing many years ago. It's been good 7-8 years that we've been trying to do this, and finally, with the policy of passed in the RBI by Honorable ex-Deputy Governor R. Gandhiji, that was passed, which basically stated that cooperative banks, urban cooperative banks, could basically become, private companies could become a private bank, a joint stock company in future. So basically, there was a policy which was being made by RBI, and eventually, with that policy of the high-powered committee of RBI, it basically said that yes, if banks want to basically do that, cooperative banks can do that, subject to meeting capital requirements to either make a small finance bank or make a commercial bank. Based on the policy, we have eventually come forward, okay, based on the recent amendment in 2020 in the Parliament, which was the Banking Regulations Amendment Act 2020, Section 12, which basically permits private placement into urban cooperative banks across the country. So what we are basically doing here is we proposed an investment of 230 crores in the City Cooperative Bank Limited in 2 phases, 180 crores first initially and another 50 crores later in phase 2. We have had discussions before any of these proposals with the depositors, depositor associations. So we had one-on-one meetings multiple times to make sure that we do understand what they're looking at. After understanding what they're looking at, we've actually drafted an agreement, a private placement agreement, and also taken consent of several hundred, depositors associated with the bank, who definitely have given us their blessings to go ahead and go further with the proposal. And we've drafted our depositor agreements so that everybody is pretty much onto the same commitment. We've had meetings with the Honorable Reserve Bank of India, with the meetings that we've had with the Honorable Reserve Bank of India. We appraised them about our proposal. We appraised them about what we're up to. We've sent a copy of the proposal to the Honorable, Governor, Reserve Bank of India, Honorable Deputy Governor, Reserve Bank of India, the Honorable CGM, the Honorable DGM, everybody, And along with that, we've sent a copy of that to the Honorable Finance Minister of India, also to the Finance Secretary, everywhere. So basically, everybody is appraised about the situation, And now we'd like to eventually come in front of you to have a discussion with you. Also, reach out to almost everybody. So basically, just to appraise you, for the first time in the history of this country, something like this is happening in the cooperative sector. So this is slightly different than PMC. It's not the PMC situation, slightly different. Why it's slightly different? Because in the PMC situation, Unity Small Finance Bank that they made, Centrum and these guys had eventually got the permission of a small finance bank before, and then they basically did the PMC situation. So basically, in our case, it's totally different. So there has been a lot of exemptions that we've been, expecting from the regulators, from the Honorable Cooperative Ministry. So just to appraise you, based on our discussion with the Honorable, CGM and the DGM and the RBI, we've requested them for giving the exemption to the bank to basically do fresh membership, which under Section 35A is usually not permitted, but we requested that to them so that they could give an exemption and a permission to do so to the bank, so that we can basically become members of the bank and basically infuse in capital. So, in principally, they have, almost agreed to it, So that is, I think, a major change after the 35A situation. Also, along with that, we had a discussion with the Honorable, Cooperative Commissioner of the state of Maharashtra. And with our discussion with them, we requested them for an exemption, which basically said the Section 27, subsection 3 of the Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act 1960, requires a member to be basically a 3 years old member to be able to contest for the elections for the cooperative bank. So basically, we requested for to them to basically give an exemption on that, so that we could basically, our board can actually come in and we could contest as directors for the bank and bring in our revival board. So the concept of revival is something new and something which has just started, and we really see that the regulators have been very supportive towards the idea. And with this, I would like to also let you know that this is basically a revolutionary change which is going to come in from the legislative side of it, with the support of the Cooperative Ministry, with the support of the Honorable Reserve Bank of India. What is going to happen is this majority of the banks, you must have seen, there's so many banks which have been into a pretty weak situation and deep stress for a long time. I'm not referring any names, but I'm sure all of you guys know this, much better than anybody here, So I think the future of everybody becomes, at stake once 35 has been imposed. But I think nowadays, on a daily basis, you see many of these banks are coming up with a 35A restriction, subject to the banks not meeting the Banking Regulation Act and the various master circulars of RBI. So basically, also to let you know, we have a pretty good, professional team which basically comes from the same background, who is able to eventually go ahead and run the bank in the longer run and even take it nationwide. So our plans in the banking sector is very clear. With this, support of the ministry and the Honorable Reserve Bank, we would be able to almost look at revivals of several other banks across the state. This would help the whole cooperative movement and the sector to eventually be revived, which is also very important, because if you've heard the statement of Honorable Cooperative Minister of India, Mr. Amit Shahji, he has mentioned that he would like a cooperative bank to be opened in almost every city, which is fairly possible with